Showtime.
Once again, it is showtime, people. We are back with another Dark Side of the Ring episode review. This time around, we're going to be doing a full review on the Chris Colt episode, which is season 5, episode 6.
Which I would say is probably the craziest one yet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's one of the craziest, and it's called Welcome to My Nightmare, the Chris Colt Story.
Yeah.
Which is, what's funny about this guy? I mean, we're big into wrestling, but I had no idea about this guy.
Yeah, because, I mean, that was way before our time.
Yeah, he wrestled way before our time.
Yeah, because I didn't start getting into wrestling until the 80s, and
right.
They said by the 80s he was done in wrestling.
Right. And it says here that, his real name is Charles Fay Harris.
Yeah.
But his professional wrestling name, he worked as Chris Colt. And it said he made his professional wrestling debut in 1964. So, which is, long before us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and man, this guy was like a wild, like firecracker or something like that,
He wanted to live that life of like a rock star.
Right. Well, speaking of rock stars, he ran into, from what they said, Janis Joplin at one point.
That was a cool story. Like,
right.
He was just walking down the street, saw her like sitting there having a drink, and she just like said, "Hey, want a drink?"
Right, and they end up being friends.
Yeah,
which is pretty.
He found out later that.
Right after that night, he left, and then he's seen that her on TV or whatever, and he's like, "Wait a minute, I was just partying with her."
Yeah, and he went back and asked her, like, "Why didn't you tell me who you were?" And she's just like, I just wanted a friend. I wanted somebody that would be a real friend, not just hanging out with me because I'm Janis Joplin,
Which is pretty wild, for something like that to happen. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
But
he was all into that rockin'. He wanted to live that rock star life like Janis Joplin.
And Alice Cooper as well.
And he getting into drugs and all that stuff.
Which, speaking of drugs, we'll get into the first incident that happened pretty early in the episode. Was wild. I was tripped the fuck out when I seen this. Yeah. So apparently he took some LSD right before a cage match.
Before a wrestling match. Like, I'm going out there to wrestle in front of a bunch of people. Let me take some LSD first, knowing that it could really screw me up, and
Right, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you go. So he goes to the ring. he gets in the ring.
Yeah, well, he starts. I guess it starts off all right for a little bit, but then once the shit kicks in.
Yeah, and so they kicked in just as he got into the cage, and they shut the door, and he just starts like looking around like all freaked out, and somebody's asking him like, "What are you seeing?" It's like, "I'm seeing giant spiders."
Yeah.
Like they're just they're coming into the ring and coming after him.
Yeah, they're climbing the fucking cage, and he's freaking out and shit. And then what makes this far worse is the motherfucker climbs over the cage and starts punching the fucking fans out.
Yeah, he's like beating the hell out.
He's beating out of the fans, and then I guess they ended up tackling him and beating him and hitting him with beer bottles and shit. According to his partner, Bill Anderson.
Yeah, he wasn't even feeling it.
Yeah, well, of course not. The guy, he's all piped up on shit. He probably was drinking also beforehand. You're not going to feel nothing. The next day you are, but not that night. He starts... I wish I was there to actually witness that, and I wonder if that was actually filmed, because I would have loved to have seen this whole event go down.
I think if that was filmed, I don't think that they would be showing people that, because if he's going out the cage and attacking fans,
Right. Well, hey, you never know. I've seen some wild shit, on footage with wrestlers at times, but I don't think I've ever seen something that fucking crazy.
No,
So that was just like, I was like, whoa, wow.
Yeah,
you know.
Bill Anderson, he said he stood in front of him with a chair to start blocking all the beer bottles and kind of keep him safe. And they're taking him off. He's all bloody and beaten.
Right.
And it's like, he's like, man, this is my tag team partner.
Yeah. He didn't stay with them long, that's for sure. And even that night, it says this incident in Phoenix that took place in 1975. Colt was high on, LSD, like we talked about during a cage match, seeing spiders, hallucinations. He says he fled the venue fighting with not only fans, but here it says arena security.
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't think they mentioned that in the Dark Side of the Ring. They didn't mention the security that I can remember. I thought he just said the fans he was punching out and shit. I thought, man, I would assume there was a lot of lawsuits for that.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, like they said, he was that kind of guy where, he would do such crazy stuff that he would not last long in any promotion.
Right.
You see him come into a promotion, work a match or two. The next thing you know, he was gone because he'd always get in, fights. And
he would get fights with other wrestlers that he thought hated him or something like that.
Because he would get so high on drugs and stuff that he would have what do you call it, like hallucinations and thinking that people are like trying to backstab him.
Right, they're out to get him.
In his back, and they're out to get him.
Right, which they really weren't.
No.
It's man, what a crazy lifestyle.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, and then they're saying how he, like, the way he would base his characters on whatever mood he was in that day. Like,
right, he's always changing it up.
Yeah, like he would come out like one day looking like a pretty boy, then he'd come out looking like what do you call it, like Alice Cooper, and,
right, or putting shit in his face or his head.
Yeah, he was taking like pins, the big like clothespins, and just like sticking them through his like top of his head and making it look like he had stuff hanging off of his face. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean, that's going pretty hardcore, especially for back then. You see a lot of that shit now, and nobody thinks twice. But back then, in like the '60s and '70s, I would assume that it was like, who is this guy?
That's what that's what they say.
Crazy.
Like, he wanted to draw heat. Like, he wanted to be like the most hated wrestler out there. Like,
oh yeah, and I guess he pulled it off with that Nazi stuff.
Yeah, he's like, what can I do to get the most heat? And he's like, well, everybody hates Nazis, so I'll become a Nazi. And they show him like walking to the ring with the hand out, like the Hail Hitler, salute or whatever to the ring, and he's just like, wow.
And I believe at some point they were burning a flag, and back then that's a big no-no, so they shut one of the wrestling companies down for that.
Yeah.
That's going out there, man. That's far out there.
He said it best. There's like certain things you don't do in wrestling, and that's to burn the American flag on a TV show.
Yeah.
And they said not only did he lose his job, the show got canceled.
It was just crazy.
Well,
this guy was definitely a wild card, man.
Yeah.
And on top of that, at some point, which was really crazy, is that him and his tag team partner, Bill Anderson, along with another guy, I forgot his name, what was it, Mike something?
I totally forgot about that. But
when they were driving, and for no reason, fucking Chris Colt punches Bill in the back of the head.
And punches the other guy, and he was grabbing their hair.
And shit. But what we didn't know is, or from what Bill was saying, the Mike guy, I think that was his name. He was like a judo expert and a veteran war guy, and he was definitely a tough motherfucker.
Oh yeah, he proved it too.
Yeah,
like,
so he told Bill to stop the fucking car right now.
Yeah,
and then Chris got out and he punched the driver, and then he came around to fight this judo expert. Yeah,
he told him straight up, like, don't. This is your final warning, dude.
Yeah, he told him, he says, if you try to hit me again, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Yeah,
and he tries it again, and this judo guy puts him in some sort of headlock until he passes out. But what's another trippy part is he gets back in the car and he tells Bill to back up.
And he's like, we're gonna kill this motherfucker.
Yeah, he's like, he says he tells him to back up, and then he puts his foot. They back up a certain ways, and then they go forward. He puts his foot on his foot to go forward. He goes, "We're killing this motherfucker right now." And I thought, oh my god. But fortunately, Bill came to his senses and churned the car. Well, pushed his hand out of the way and churned the car. Yeah. And they just left him there.
Yeah, he said even like later on he didn't realize the
severity of what they were about to do.
Yeah, if he would have ran him over, he would have probably gone to jail for the rest of his life.
Yeah, or for a long time. Because
that's scary to think, man.
Yeah. And what's funny is, like, the next day when they go to the apartment or wherever, there Chris is.
Yeah, so like, hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, he's
like nothing had happened. But he wanted to get rid of this judo guy because obviously, these guys were just too wild.
Yeah, Bill wanted, he wanted Bill to be his partner.
Right, but
they went to the next place, and he said he'd gotten there before.
Well, no, what he said was when they landed the plane, Chris was ahead of him or whatever. He got to, got some liquor before Bill could even get off the plane. You know?
And he said the last time that he ever saw him, and he said he walked to the entrance of the bar and seen him sitting at the bar having a drink.
Yeah, he knew then. Yeah, I got to get out of this.
He's like, I got to get out. He's like, yeah, this guy is totally out of control. Like.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I can't be around this guy anymore.
What a loose cannon.
Yeah, just a crazy, I know you want to go out there and make a name for yourself, but
yeah, behind the scenes, it was just like wild shit.
Yeah.
And I don't really know nothing about this Bill Anderson guy, but, they showed a clip of him, working in the WWF.
Yeah, but he was like, just like what, I know they call it enhancement talent, but the real term is he was a fucking jobber.
Right.
He was just one of them guys brought in so they could bring out, like, one of the main guys just to beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, something like that, because I don't really know much about him. He was a big dude, but yeah, that's pretty crazy. I probably would have left long before that, because seeing all that shit that goes down, I said, no, I can't tag team with this motherfucker. He's too much.
Yeah, I mean, how can you? Like I said, you have to be on edge every time you turn around. Like the car incident, they were just driving along. Right. So he was in the back seat getting high on something, and out of the blue, he just started wailing on him.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's what drugs do to you, though, man.
But I believe after that, I think he wrestled by himself, for a while. Going through all these different phases and characters type thing.
Yeah, so like he became like the Nazi gimmick and all this and all that. And
yeah, he had a few tag team partners as well. One, they said that he passed away while in the ring announcing.
What was his name? Ron Dupree.
Yeah, that was his partner. And he had passed away. In the ambulance while Chris was there.
And they said that Chris Colt was there with him.
Right, and it really messed him up because of that.
Yeah, well, they said they had been like a team for 6 years.
Right.
And yeah, outside the wrestling business, they had, you know, an affair with each other.
Yeah, they were,
Yeah, but you know, it's just like, you know, to lose, like, you know, somebody that close to them.
Yeah,
like,
it definitely affected him from what everybody was saying.
Yeah, and that's why like, they said that, you know, like, the wrestling companies didn't want nothing to really do with him because they said when he started coming out, you never know what you were going to get with him. Like, he would show up to an arena looking like he'd been on like a 3-4 day drug binge, you know, like skinny, pale, and then he'd show up at another company sometime later, having a beard, you know, put on some weight, you know, like he was taking care of himself. Then you see him coming out like looking like fucking Alice Cooper with that Nightmare.
Right. Welcome to my nightmare.
Yeah. And what was cool, what Jim Cornette said about him, is that he started the whole, like, playing music, you know, have it like for ring entrance music.
He would use Alice Cooper's "Welcome to My Nightmare" as his entrance music.
Yeah.
This was the earliest of instances of promotion playing theme music for wrestlers.
Yeah, like this was way before, you know.
This was like the mid '70s here. We're talking about.
Yeah. A lot of people say that they always thought that Hulk Hogan started the whole ring entrance music because of Rocky III. Like, they would start playing Eye of the Tiger when he'd come to the ring.
Right. But now this guy was beforehand. Which is pretty wild. So, yeah, I mean, he only wrestled here, like I said, from the late 60s until the late 80s. You know, so
he just disappeared.
He disappeared, and then he got into the porn industry. You know, which is kind of wild. You know.
Yeah.
And they even had the director that directed his films talk about all of that stuff.
Yeah,
you know.
They said that he was actually in the videos with them, like
he was masked up and stuff.
Yeah, he had like a mask on, and the guy had him in a headlock. He's like, "That's you under the mask?" Like, yeah, that's me. I was like, wow.
Wow, yeah, that was trippy. So yeah, this guy lived a hell of a hardcore, you know, lifestyle, and he passed away. You know, let's see, he was born in June of, I think I've said that, I'm not sure if I said this yet, but he was born in June of 1946. He passed away in May of 1995.
Yeah, so he was, you know, 48, 49 years old, of what they're saying. But
right. And
there's a lot of people were saying they don't even know exactly, like, how he died. Like, they said that people's heard stories that he was found dead in an alley. There's another one where somebody was saying they found him, like, dead in a chair.
Yeah.
With a needle in his arm, and he'd been dead for, like, 2-3 days. And,
right.
Like, but then they show on the what do you call it, the death records or whatever, medical records, it said that he had died from complications from HIV.
Right. And even before that, when he was getting his drugs, I noticed, you know, in the Darks of the Ring episode, he was pretending to be a cop. Yeah, so they could rob their shit.
Yeah, he would flash a badge, like, so quickly with a gun, get the drugs, and he would jump out the window and take off. And
right. I'm just like, man, that's crazy. Because you know these motherfuckers have guns and they're going to try and chase you down.
That takes some serious balls to do something like that.
Yeah,
like,
that's pretty wild.
I mean, like, to do something like that, like, you must have, like, a death wish, because you know how bad that shit could go down, especially in a damn drug house.
Yeah, I mean, anything and everything bad can go down. You know.
Remember take, for example, remember the movie Boogie Nights?
Yeah, oh yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. They went into that guy's house. They were going to try to steal his drugs and rob him. Right. And that guy was in that room with that big ass shotgun. When that guy tried to step in, it was boom. boom, lights out.
Yeah, and the other two got the hell out of there. It was just crazy, but yeah, this guy lived a pretty hardcore life. And also, what was cool is they had some like behind the scenes interviews with Chris Colt talking about certain things, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And his family on the episode was talking about him. They said he would, anytime they would see him, he would bring something.
Yeah.
To them.
How about his nephew actually had them like that booklet that
Yeah, his journal.
Yeah, that he wrote, and he's like, there's like 100 pages here. He's like, this is stuff like a 13-year-old shouldn't be reading.
Right. Imagine, something like this episode, could have been way longer. If he has all that stuff written down, and they only scratched the surface when it came to that, they didn't really get too much into that.
I mean,
no telling how many stories are in that motherfucker.
Yeah.
What he's been through. And man, that would have been cool if they could pull that up and we could read over that, because that would have been interesting. And
he was a crazy dude, man.
Yeah, on edge. Also, I remember after I watched the episode, I wanted to check out one or two of his matches. Yeah. And I came across a match where he fought Billy Jack Haynes in 1982. So back then, Billy Jack was built like a damn tank.
Oh yeah, he's a big dude.
He's a big, powerful dude. So he was able to, really, slam Chris on the mat and all that, and he took those bumps pretty good.
Yeah, that's wow. Jim Cornette and all them were saying on his thing that he was a hell of a bumper.
Right, he could take the bumps.
He could take a bump really good.
And they said he was also doing jumping off the ropes and doing the Macho Man thing before Macho Man.
He was doing the flying elbow way before like Macho Man started using the flying elbow.
That's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah. Well, they said that his wrestling style was 20 years before his time.
Right. And it's wild that we're big into wrestling. I mean, we didn't know who this fucking guy was.
I'm sure, wrestlers in the 60s, 70s, and so on, I'm sure there's a lot that we don't know about. But
you would think that we would have heard of this guy, with all the wild shit that he's been through, But Chris, what's his name? Jim Cornette, I mean, he knew about him. He was a fan of his.
Well, fuck, dude, Jim Cornette knows about everybody.
Yeah, that's true. He's like a damn library.
Yeah, I mean, I know a shitload about wrestling, but
not on his level.
I could never fucking say I know more than Jim Cornette, because there's no way.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he's so into it that it's like it would be very hard to top him in knowledge in wrestling.
Yeah.
Because he's just like really smart when it comes to that and knowledgeable.
Jim Cornette's been in the wrestling business.
For many years.
Yeah, managing all those teams like the Midnight Express, the doing all he worked everywhere. WWF, WCW.
Yeah, he's been around for ever. I don't even know when the hell he started in the wrestling business. Probably back when we were babies,
Yeah.
Just little kids. But yeah, what a hell of an episode. What would you give this episode? I'm giving it a full 10 out of 10.
I mean, I have to agree. It's just, to me, out of all the stories we've heard so far during this Dark Side of the Ring, to me, that was just the most crazy. The lifestyle that he lived, it's just wow.
Yeah. Well, they all live. Harley Races was pretty crazy.
Well, shit. I don't think Harley
even Buff Bagwell's was crazy with him shooting at his dad and shit.
Yeah.
Harley Race fucking driving a boat.
He wasn't holding up a damn, a drug house trying to steal drugs and shit.
Yeah, but still, I mean, Harley Race, him and his running over people with a boat on, drunk.
Yeah.
And it just, and getting almost killed by hitting that ladder, or not ladder, but that metal table.
That table, yeah, when he's trying to jump off on Hulk Hogan. And
right.
Hogan moved and he slammed the little bar, came up and hit his gut. Blew his gut out.
Right, but anyways, I mean, each wrestler, obviously they have their own story, but yeah, this was pretty wild, It
was wild, it's just, it was wild to see it, like, when I first heard this story, and, they were saying that he was a Hell's Angels, I thought they were talking about he was part of the motorcycle group Hell's Angels.
No, yeah, he wasn't.
No, he had a tag team called the Hell's Angels.
Right. I mean, from what I'm reading here, it says he worked for a variety of different wrestling promotions in the United States, such as Big Time Wrestling in Detroit, NWA All-Star Wrestling, American Wrestling Association, and Pacific Northwest Wrestling. He was all over the place, man.
He wrapped the ball, yeah, because like what they were saying, he was so crazy and stuff that his over the top gimmicks that he didn't stick around long.
Right, because he's fighting everybody and shit.
Well, he
other
was
wrestlers,
fighting everybody, and then there was companies that worried about like. How he was going to show up to each match because he was, constantly changing his gimmick and, just making his gimmick more crazier and over the top. And it was just like, wow.
Right, you're right, man. But all in all, yeah, I'm going to give this one a 10 out of 10. I think it was a really good episode.
I would say the same.
And I'd say the two things that shocked me the most was the whole LSD spiders crawling over these huge spiders crawling over the fucking cage.
Yeah.
And then him jumping out and punching fans. Woo! That's pretty fucking crazy. I would have loved to fucking been there, man. And then him when his friends almost ran his motherfucking ass over.
Yeah.
That is pretty crazy.
And that and going from, doing all that wrestling for all those years and then turning to porn.
Yeah. Wow.
Like, I thought that, they were showing clips, like...
Of him talking, doing, promo type stuff.
Yeah. I was just like, what in the hell?
Yeah, I had no idea about any of that. It's just, like I said, what a hell of an episode. And if we're going to wrap this one up, unless if you got anything more to say about Chris Colt.
No, well, I just say it's wild story, wild person, and
can't wait for the next episode.
That's what's like every story now. Like, I know it's like after every story, it's like, man, you crave more. It's like, man, I want more stories this. I want to hear more about, because I'm sure every wrestler out there has their story.
Oh, of course. Why do you think there's so many seasons?
Yeah.
So anyways, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up, guys. We hope you enjoyed this review on Chris Colt Dark Side of the Ring episode. That is it for now. We're out of here and have a kick-ass day.